Going to go ahead and get started because it is 9:03. We're going to start with introductions. We'll go around the room, and as always, I do pop-up style, so everyone get ready to take yourself off of mute. Chief, I will save you for last, and we are going to go ahead and get started. I'm Diana Batista, chair of this committee, and I'm with Stanford Children's Health. I'm going to pop on over to John Cowan.
Thanks. Hi, Chief. Nice to meet you. John Cowan, Senior Director of Government Relations and Community Partnerships at Community Health.
Priscilla.
Priscilla Christie, owner of Discovering You.
Ellen.
Ellen Biolsi, owner of Cranberry Scoop and currently serving on the board of directors for Festival of Lights.
Joe.
A little slow there. Good morning, everybody. Joe Maletti with Avid Bank and Los Altos resident, and also past chair of the Chamber of Commerce.
Scott.
All right. Hi, Scott Hunter, Executive Director of the Los Altos Village Association. I'm also on the board of the Los Altos Stage Company and a member of the New Theater Working Group.
Awesome. And other Scott.
Scott O'Brien, commercial real estate, work with Cushman & Wakefield, former chamber board member and past chair of the chamber.
I like how Scott Hunter went first in alphabetical order. I like this. Like this. Abby.
Good morning, all. Owner of Ashante Boutique Hotel and a 54-year realtor in town. And former chamber member, well, still chamber member, but former board.
Okay.
And lava. Sorry, Scott, almost forgot you.
Marie.
Good morning. I'm a Marie Young, chamber member and Los Altos resident for many, 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 many years.
Well, Roy.
Sorry, good morning, everyone. I'm Roy Lave, retired.
That's the goal, right? Brian. Brian Aber. Oh, we have a Brian with us. Anthony.
Anthony Carnesecca, City of Los Altos, Economic Development.
Thank you. And Jenny.
Good morning, Jenny Lear, Los Altos Women's Caucus.
And Nicole, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Nicole with the Los Altos Chamber and Los Altos native and resident.
Awesome. Did I miss anybody? I think I got everybody. It is so great to see everyone on this wonderful October day. Chief, well, we're lucky to have our police chief, our newest police chief with us. She assumed her position on August 1st, and we definitely are here to get to know her, let her talk about herself a little bit, and anything else you want to share with us. We're just so glad to have you. Welcome to Los Altos.
Good morning. I apologize. I'm having some horrible technical difficulties over here. So we're trying to work on those as we speak. Can everyone hear me okay, though? Perfect. Okay, well, thank you so much, Diana, for that introduction. I am ecstatic to be here in the city of Los Altos. I've been here for around 2 months now, and it's been an amazing journey so far. I'm not only new to the Los Altos Police Department, I'm also new to the County of Santa Clara. And so working in a new county is almost like going to another state. There are a lot of different, policies and procedures to learn, county protocols, trying to learn new faces. There's a lot here to learn. However, it hasn't been as difficult as I thought it was going to be, because of many of the people that are on this call today who have been very supportive and have been kind of helping hold my hand to learn and navigate through this new system. So thank you again for that support. So a little bit about me. I've been in law enforcement for 25 years. I started my career as a police records clerk at the Hayward Police Department. I never thought I would go into law enforcement, to be quite honest. At that time, my career aspiration was to be a commercial airline pilot, but flying lessons are very expensive and I was very broke. So I started working at the police department as a way to supplement my income so that I could take flying lessons. Well, that turned into going on my first ride along, and that ride along changed my life. And that was when I realized that police work was going to be my calling. And so I embarked on this fantastic journey. I actually started as a sworn officer at the Alameda County Sheriff's Office. I was a deputy there for about a year and a half. The problem was the jail system is extremely difficult. It's a very difficult environment to work in, and it wasn't suited for me. And so I felt like I could do more good and have a better impact, greater impact on people by working out in the neighborhoods. And so I went back to the Hayward Police Department as a sworn police officer and spent the bulk of my career there. As a police officer in Hayward, I was assigned to a variety of different assignments, traffic patrol, internal affairs. I was the first female sergeant in charge of the gang unit, which was also a really fun assignment. I got to do a lot of things, that people in other agencies don't necessarily get exposed to. The thing I'm most proud of in my career is that I spent 10 years as a hostage negotiator. I'm actually currently the president of the California Association of Hostage Negotiators. So it's something that's very near and dear to my heart. I've really enjoyed being a negotiator and now running the organization that kind of sets the standards for the state of California. From Hayward, I went to BART about 3.5 years ago. I lateraled there as a lieutenant, and I went there actually with the hopes of being the next police chief. I reached a point in my career where I realized that I had something to give as a leader and that I still had more to give, and that I'm very passionate about this profession. And so I thought I could have the greatest impact by pursuing that title. I was promoted within a year at BART and became a deputy chief. I was a deputy chief in charge of a brand new division that didn't exist before. And so I literally spent 2 years scaling up a division out of nothing. The division was the Progressive Policing and Community Engagement Bureau. And, besides the community engagement piece, the majority of the responsibilities in the Bureau were to address quality of life issues on the BART system. So homelessness, mental illness, and substance abuse, the 3 largest issues in any transit system, really. And you can imagine how daunting a task that was, because no one has figured out the answer to homelessness, right? I think we've all given some input and we've tried different ideas to tackle it. It's a very complex issue. But as an agency, BART realized that something had to be done. We had to go out there and try to provide people with resources because of the many silos and the different counties that BART runs in. It was a complicated system for someone that has nothing. And so the program launched in November of last year and was very successful. But I don't want to take the credit for the success. The success and the credit goes 100% to the men and women that were assigned to the division, that were doing the day-to-day work, being out there in the community and really making a difference. So speaking of community policing has always been very near and dear to my heart. I think law enforcement, we haven't done ourselves any favors, for sure, and especially in the last couple of years. I understand why there's very deep distrust of law enforcement. And I've worked my entire career to try to bridge that communication gap between law enforcement and the community, because we are all one. I don't believe that's law enforcement versus the community or the community versus law enforcement. Law enforcement is the community and the community is law enforcement. And the only way that we can make that happen is by working together. And by working together, there has to be a foundation of trust. And so that trust starts with being transparent. That's, one of the very important things for me to subscribe to as a chief is transparency, but also equity, treating all with respect, valuing human life, and equitable treatment amongst all. So from the BART Police Department, obviously I left there for this opportunity, and I'm very grateful to be here. I think there were two things that needed to happen. Number one, I needed to make sure that I was a good fit for this agency, but I also needed to make sure that the agency realized that I was a good fit for them, right? It's a two-way street, because if it's not a good fit, then I'm not going to be successful. And thankfully, the sun and the moon and the stars all aligned, and here I am. So some of the things, like I said, I'm working on in my tenure here as chief, it starts from within. We talk about law enforcement, we talk about procedural justice and giving people a voice and making people feel like they're a part of the process. Well, that starts internally with my employees, giving them a voice, making them feel valued, tending to their wellness, their mental and physical wellness, really translates to them having a positive and professional relationship with the community that they serve. The community that we serve also, ensuring that they also are given that same respect, that same voice, that they also feel like they're part of the decision-making process. It's vitally important to me. It's the only way that we can bridge the communication gap and really make some progress together as a community. So that's just a little bit about me. And I just wanted to very briefly talk about a theme that has kind of run through my career and something that you all as business owners and leaders also can consider in your day-to-day operations. And that is authenticity. Authenticity is you being true to yourself, and you having the confidence to know that you can be your authentic self in any situation. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, I think it's a really important leadership topic that isn't addressed very often. Early on in my career, I felt like there was a mold that I had to fit into. I felt like I needed to be this particular person if I wanted to get promoted or if I wanted to get taken seriously. And at some point in my career, probably when I was at a point where I was feeling pretty miserable. And I was feeling miserable because I didn't have job satisfaction. I didn't feel valued. I didn't feel like I was making any progress in my career. That was when I realized part of the misery started from within. And I realized that I wasn't being true to myself, that I was working really hard to try to fit into this box that I didn't fit into. And it was at that point that I realized that it was okay for me to be me. I was hired this way, and I was hired this way for a reason. And although I think it's important to grow in whatever position you're in, you always have to go back to your roots and always check in with yourself and make sure that you're being your authentic self. And so what that has translated into for me personally has been career success. Once I kind of shed that weight and realized that I wasn't happy, and that I wasn't happy trying to be the person that someone else wanted me to be, my career really took off and really accelerated. And so, as a leader, I try to instill that same concept into every every employee, doesn't matter what their rank or their title is. I think we all make up this fabric of life, right? We all contribute to society in our own way. And that's what makes us amazing human beings. The characteristics that we bring to a conversation, to a meeting, to the coffee shop, I think that all brings value to all of us every day as human beings. And so I just think that authenticity as a leader is a critical character trait that people should think more about. I'm sorry if I am a little rambly, because it's really an important topic, I believe. And so I just want to thank you all again for your time, and just wanted to leave you with a little something to consider as you go on through your day. And again, the support that I've received since being here has been absolutely incredible. And I look so forward to working with all of you moving forward to help keep our community safe, clean, and thriving. And with that, I don't know if Diana, if you want to open it up for questions, or if there was something else.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for everything you said. There were a lot of different little nuggets in there that I can speak on for all of the morning, but I don't want to monopolize. So are there any questions or comments from the group? And if you do, just either raise your hand this way, or just raise your hand the virtual way, or just take yourself off of mute. We're kind of an informal group here. So I will go first. I believe, Chief, there was a discussion with the community yesterday regarding the break-ins and just businesses. For those of us who weren't there, anything that was a takeaway from that meeting?
Yeah, I think the takeaway from that meeting was one of the questions that was posed was, what were my suggestions when calling the police if you see suspicious activity? And suspicious activity can cover a gamut of different things, right? But the important thing is to be very specific and clear on what the behavior is of the suspicious activity, and to describe not only the behavior, but the person, what they're wearing, where they are, in relation to where you are, things like that. And the reason why that was such an important discussion point is because sometimes when people call the police, the way that they communicate to us is not helpful. And in the sense of, we had a call a few days ago where someone called and said, this person is acting suspiciously, but they didn't describe the behavior. The only thing that was suspicious was that this was a Black man sitting down on a curb. That's literally kind of what the caller said. And I don't think that people mean to come across in such a biased manner, but it is biased at the end of the day. And so we just have to be careful not to do that. But also it helps our officers as they're responding to the scene to figure out what they need to do when they get there. And I think reporting suspicious behavior is so important, because we really, at the end of the day, want to stop crime before it happens. Unfortunately, police work, there's a lot of reactivity to what we do. But if we can stop a crime from happening before it happens, that's really important to us, because we don't want any of our business owners or even any of our residents to be victimized.
Can you speak to maybe not just Los Altos, but maybe to the region, where I know there's efforts being made in, there's the bad guys, girls, whatever, and the ones who do suffer from the mental health issue. Then there's also like the drug issue, right? So there's a bunch of different components. How does the police then have to, you have to make those split-second decisions, how to react, what to do? I mean, I don't envy the task. I love the ride-alongs, but I don't envy the task. So what goes into that kind of training, especially nowadays as we're trying to become more aware?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think in law enforcement, we've really evolved over the last 20 years. on how we respond and deal with people who are having a mental crisis. I think that in the past, we didn't understand mental illness maybe as much as we do now. So that obviously goes back to our training. We've updated our training practices and policies. POST, which is the Peace Officer Standards and Training, has also provided guidelines and training on how to deal with individuals who are experiencing either a mental crisis or maybe are under the influence of drugs or alcohol. But I also think that our viewpoint has changed. So when I first became a police officer, it was very much so like the warrior mentality. It was very much so, I think it was the police versus the community. And I'm not sure how we got there. That was just kind of how it was, right? We've evolved from that, where now we are guardians in the community. Guardians as far as, treating people with compassion and kindness. That's really the place that we start from now. And that has evolved because of the type of training that we received. And that was one thing I loved about being a negotiator is kind of trying to figure out what is wrong with this person in that moment. What can I do as a human being to help this person not only survive this moment, but maybe get some help long-term. And so, like I said, we've evolved, and now our responses to those types of calls for service are we weigh what the circumstances are before we even get there. That's a really important part of the process. To get us mentally prepared ourselves on how we're going to deal with this person, but also to make sure that we're calm when we arrive to the scene. And then we have to make instant assessments on, kind of what's going on with this person. Are they suffering from a mental illness? Are they high on drugs? And then we tailor our response from there. I think also having the ability to use less lethal options and tools, like taser, and some people don't like it, but if it means that it saves someone's life in that moment, it's a tool that we have to use. We don't automatically go to using deadly force on someone because they may be armed or, going through a break. So hopefully that answered your question.
It did. Thank you. A little side joke. I did human resources for another city. And whenever I saw the police officers, I'm like, I love you guys, except when you're behind me in a car, even when I'm not speeding, not that I speed, but I'm always there, it's like, love you guys, but stay away. So a few months ago, I had the pleasure of doing a similar Zoom meeting for another chamber, for Menlo Park's chamber, where they also welcomed a new police chief. And my question goes back to recruitment. We're seeing it across up and down the state. San Jose, one of the bigger cities, has completely they're trying to new hire. What are your thoughts for recruitment processes? And do you see that in Los Altos? I don't know there's a vacancies, what's happening, but if you can speak to that, that'd be great.
Yeah, we actually do have some vacancies here. It's really affecting a lot of different agencies in law enforcement, not only in the state, but in the nation. For whatever reason, there's not as much interest in joining this field. When I first started my journey to being a police officer, I would show up to a testing process and there would be, 1,000 people there for 2 positions, right? I wish we still had that problem. We don't. I think part of it is, unfortunately, some of the events that happened in 2020, a lot of the tragic incidents that happened in law enforcement, that turned a lot of people off. I think, the ability to work from home from the pandemic is more attractive to people, and obviously we can't work from home as police officers. We have to show up every day. And so that makes it difficult to recruit. We've tried different tactics and strategies like hiring bonuses and things like that. It worked for a little while, but now that's waning off as well. My current approach to it is what other things can we offer people to get into this profession other than monetary compensation, which is important to some and important to most, but what other things can we do? And to me, it's about your quality of life. So having the ability to actually have days off from work, to be able to take vacations, to be able to spend time with your family, that's kind of the approach that we're going to take. We haven't rolled out our new recruitment program yet, but hopefully it's successful. But we're all scrambling to find out ways to recruit, and then we end up all kind of pulling from the same candidate pool, right? And so our candidates now have their choice of so many different police agencies. It's very difficult. So if any of you on this call, on this meeting, know of anyone that's interested in law enforcement, please send them my way.
I think you all have an in now. So we're going to go with Jenny and then we're going to go with Priscilla.
Oh, good morning, Chief. Thank you. Can you, this leads me to ask about training. If you hire someone, does Los Altos have a full training program, or is there a general training place they go and then come to Los Altos, or how does that work? Thank you.
Yeah, so we were actually fortunate that we just had a trainee graduate from the academy last Friday. He was selected to be the president of his class, and he was awarded a leadership award for his leadership ability in the academy, which is awesome. The standard set by post is that you have to go through a police academy, which is about 6 months long. In the police academy, there are different, they call them learning domains, where you learn about evidence collection, search and seizure, a variety of different topics. Once you graduate from the academy, then you come back here, we send them through like an in-house academy where they read about our particular policies and procedures. We take them to the range. They get additional training to kind of learn how we do it here in our city. And then they go through a 12-week field training program. During the field training program, so it's a lot of training. They go through almost a year of training when it's all said and done. The field training program, they're paired with, we call them FTOs, field training officers, who basically teach them how to do this job. So it's one thing to be in the academy and to learn things in a book. It's a totally different thing to be out in the street actually doing this job, right? And physically doing the things that you learned in the academy. And so it's a very grueling process. And I think that also discourages people from wanting to join this profession. But we also do continuous professional training yearly to make sure that we are keeping our standards at or above what they need to be, or as required by post.
Thank you. We'll go to Priscilla and then John.
Good morning, Angela.
Good morning.
Real quickly, I just wanted to say I grew up in a family of law enforcement. I have a lot of family that's in law enforcement. My father retired from the police department, San Jose Police Department. And I have nephews and I have 2 uncles that are also in law enforcement. My question to you, I understand how hard and how frustrating it can be as a police officer trying to deal with the public. Everybody wants to voice their opinion about different things, and you have to remain biased on both sides. I'm wondering if your department offers any type of cognitive behavioral therapy courses for your officers that are caught in the middle or having to deal with different issues to help them, to better equip them moving forward in society, dealing with people on different levels.
So the answer is no. There's no specific training like that our officers are sent to. I think that that kind of goes in line with our officer wellness, though. That's another thing that we are actively trying to put together now. I know that at previous agencies that I worked at, we had training like cultural sensitivity, things like that. So it's sort of in line with what you're asking, but it's definitely something that is on my radar. And I'm glad that you asked that. And I hope that when we meet again, that I have a better answer for you, because I definitely think that sort of training is very important.
I will send you information because I do have I would like to be able to help you out in that area if possible.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. John?
Thanks for the really interesting discussion. I just had a question I wanted to ask. I know that the Los Altos and Mountain View and Palo Alto have a project to try to collaborate together. And requested federal funding to try to have behavioral health workers respond to more emergency crisis situations where it may be more helpful to have a behavioral health worker respond rather than a law enforcement officer. And I was just curious kind of where things were at with that and how it was going, and if it seemed like that was a project that was moving forward.
So I'm not aware specifically of that project. Like I said, I've only been here for a few months, and we have a monthly Santa Clara County Chiefs meeting. I'm actually meeting with the Palo Alto and Mountain View Chiefs in a few weeks. So I'll definitely approach that subject. It's really interesting because I've seen many different models on this approach. And like I said, because I kind of started the program up at BART, I did a lot of research on not only what we were doing in the Bay Area, but kind of some of the things that were being done nationwide. So the co-responder model is what we ended up going with at BART, which is pairing a specially trained officer with a social, well, we call them social workers, but people with a background in social work. And that they kind of are the primary person in charge of those kind of calls. So the officer basically was just there to kind of assist the crisis intervention specialist if the situation escalated or violence occurred. I do know in other cities that there are, like, I want to say in Alameda County, there's a model where the fire department has specially trained firemen that respond to people in mental health crisis. So there are different approaches, and I think all of them work. I think we have to find like our niche and what's going to work for us. But I agree 100% that you know, sending you know, social workers to these kind of low level calls, I think it can work. I think it's a good idea. I just don't know where it stands right now. So I'll check on that, and again, hopefully have better information for you next time.
Thank you.
We have a couple more questions, and Fida would like to ask a question. Go ahead.
Hi. So my question concerns youth. I know that you have a different program than Mountain View Police, where you don't go on campus. But could you talk a little bit more about it and your approach towards youth?
Yes. So before I got here in 2020, a police task force was formed, and as a result, the school resource officer was removed from the school system. My personal feeling is that I would like to bring that school resource officer position back, and maybe we can title it a school liaison officer or something like that. I really think that it comes down to educating the public on what the role of the school resource officer is. They're not there to arrest our students and take them to jail. It's quite the opposite. They're actually there as a resource. They're there to be mentors, to be counselors, to offer assistance, things like that. And so, you know, as far as the youth are concerned, my job is to start with education and going out to the public and educating people on why we need the school resource officer and what their role is. I actually met with one of the superintendents the other day, and I would like to start with doing a coffee with cops on the high school campus. I think that, you know, we've done coffee with cops out, you know, downtown and different businesses, but I think opening ourselves up and going on campus and allowing our students to have conversations with us, to see that we're human and to break down those barriers that this is just a uniform, I think that's vitally important. I think that, you know, focusing on our youth and, you know, helping them to feel supported by law enforcement. I don't ever want our youth to feel like they should be afraid of us. Again, when it comes to community policing and all of us working together, our youth play a very important part in that. And so another thing that I plan to do is next year, sometime in May, we're going to have an open house. and the entire community will be invited. We want to have like a bike rodeo for our youth, and so have different activities that encourage our youth to interact with us and really feel comfortable going to the police and just having conversations. I think that's where everything starts, right? Just having conversations with law enforcement, I think kind of takes that stigma away that I think some people think we're robots or don't think that we have, families and struggles like everyone else. And we really do. But most people don't have that opportunity to talk to a police officer. And so for us, just getting out in the community more is important. And then, reaching out to the schools and having different events there is going to be important.
So I have one more question for the chief. Does anybody else have a question or comment that they want to ask? Okay, so Chief, my question is, Theta will have, we'll go me and then I go to Theta. It's October, so I have to ask because it's the anniversary is coming up of the big earthquake. How does the police department, this is for more education for the public, how do you all work and coordinate together with the other emergency services during catastrophic times?
Great question. So we're very fortunate in Los Altos that we have interoperability capabilities with Palo Alto Mountain View. We have what's called an EOC or Emergency Operations Center. So if we did have an earthquake, fire, some other natural disaster, all of our resources kind of are centered around our EOC. We coordinate with Santa Clara County Fire also to frame our response to those types of situations. But we also have our local CERT and HAMS teams. I don't know, I can't remember what the acronyms stand for at the top of my head, but they work in emergency preparedness every single day. They're community members and we work very closely with them. I'm actually, they're one of the groups that I need to meet with because before I got here, I guess we had an individual that was in the police department in charge of our emergency preparedness efforts. She left and went to another agency. And so I'm in the process of reinstating that position so that we have a liaison in the police department to work with our community partners, but also so that we can make sure that our policies and procedures are updated so that we are ready for any type of event that may happen. And we also do joint training occasionally with our fire department and other local agencies to prepare for, worst case scenario kind of events.
Thank you for that. Before I go to Nicole, Theta, did you have one more question or?
Yeah, I just had a quick question, which is about, you mentioned about uniforms, because Mountain View Police has a different uniform, and I just wanted to know how you felt about that versus, getting people accustomed to the black uniform.
Well, I do think on many levels, the current uniform that we wear is symbolic in the sense that people easily recognize the police in the uniform. It does kind of help officers kind of command a situation if that situation calls for that. As far as the school resource officer is concerned, though, if we're able to bring that back, I would absolutely put that person in a different uniform, like a polo shirt and cargo pants or something, maybe less militaristic looking, because I do think in many instances, the uniform is a barrier to communication. That was actually one of the things I did at BART. The officers that responded to the calls with the crisis intervention specialist were a completely different uniform. It was more subdued. And I feel like it helped people relax more. They didn't feel as maybe intimidated by the polo shirt. It was a softer color, things like that. So I'm definitely open to that. But as far as our patrol, excuse me, as far as our patrol officers are concerned, I will not be changing their uniforms.
Thank you. Nicole and then Joe.
So I just wanted to add, and I put this in the chat as well, but another takeaway from our session yesterday, and we'll have a recording that will go out to members, but there's some really great resources that are already available on the Los Altos Police Crime and Prevention website. So if you're looking for tips for how to secure your business from break-ins, be sure to go there. And if you are a business owner as well, be sure to sign up for the Business Watch so that if there is a break-in, they know who to contact. So make sure that your contact information is up to date there. So I put those in the chat. But yeah, that was just my comment.
Great, thank you. And then Joe.
Yeah, I had three things, but Nicole just kind of took the thunder out of one of them. But one thing was, not to get into it now, but I'm really curious about the airline pilot thing, but that's a whole nother conversation. That was fascinating, and thanks for sharing that with us. The second thing I was going to mention was the DARE program that you guys have done before. I know my both kids went through St. Simon and experienced that, and I think developed a good relationship with law enforcement just through that program. So I'm assuming that's continuing onwards, and I know that the pandemic had kind of thrown a wrench into some of that, but recommend keeping that going along. And then the third thing was, yeah, kind of a summary of what we discussed yesterday. And again, thanks for taking the time yesterday. I think part of the conversation was good about what is already available out there on your website, that the residents and business owners can use as a resource for quite a lot of stuff. And I think with you coming on board, it's a great kind of excuse for us to kind of reconnect with the chamber and what the chamber can do to help you, and what, use us as a resource to outreach to the business owners in the community as well. And so I think going forward, we'll try to do more of that, as this morning is kind of one of those things, but we have this government affairs as a avenue as well, and just our general events that we host too. So look forward to doing that and doing whatever we can as a resident or business owner to support your efforts. As you mentioned, there's various trainings and different things, and whatever you can share with us to help your efforts is greatly appreciated, and hopefully we can help in whatever way we can. So
thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. And I will take advantage of it also.
Good.
Use us. One thing I did experience years ago was a Citizens Police Academy. And I don't find that many agencies doing those things anymore, but that was just so amazing to go through and really learn about everything. Well, not everything, but it was just a really fun experience as well, and just very educational. Like, again, I don't know how many agencies do those, and again, COVID, but is that something that maybe could be of interest for Los Altos to do? Or
yes, thank you for bringing that topic up, because I would love for us to have a community academy, an annual community academy where you come to the police department, for 2 hours once a week or something like that, and you literally learn about the police department and what we do. You get to see our equipment. You get to go through like a simulator program where you go to like scenarios that are on a screen to kind of give you a real inside look at what we do as police officers. I also would like to have a youth academy. When I was working at Hayward, I was in charge of both of those things. We had a community academy, a youth academy, and a Spanish academy, because the city of Hayward has a large Hispanic population. It's a lot of work. It's very rewarding, not only for the community members that attend, but also for the police department. And you're right that COVID really put a damper on a lot of things that were in place before I got here. But I'm hoping that we can bring all of those things back or start them up within the next year.
that would be awesome. Sign me up. I can't fit into the youth program anymore, but for the at least for the other one. Any other questions or comments? And before we do, I want to announce that don't forget, on Wednesday, December 7th, we are having our traditional holiday party at the Courtyard Marriott, where our chief is also going to be the guest of honor. So we're so excited. I will be in Washington, D.C., so I'm really bummed that I'm not going to meet you in person. But everyone else, I hope you're able to join us that day. Any other questions, comments? Otherwise, I'm going to let the chief have the final word. Actually, I do have one question for you. The food. What's better, Los Altos or Hayward? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh my God. I have to admit, I have so far, I've literally eaten my way through Los Altos. It's amazing. There are so many wonderful places here to eat in Los Altos. They're just totally different vibe though between Hayward and Los Altos, right? So I really can't plug one over the other. They're both incredible.
I would not expect you to, but that's a good answer. Good answer. And so make sure you make your way through all the different communities too. You're going to be full after a long shift work. So Chief, final words. Anything you like to just add before we close?
Yes, I appreciate everyone's time today and yesterday. I cannot do my job without your help. And I really sincerely mean that. One of the things that attracted me to law enforcement was the fact that I didn't see anyone that looked like me, right? And so I thought to myself, how can I make a difference in my community? How can I make a difference in this profession? And I've really tried my entire career to make a difference, to leave a positive impression, and to really help those people who are in need. You know, meeting people sometimes when it's the worst day of their life is so difficult. But I feel like, you know, God put me in this place for a reason. And so I'm so grateful that I've had this opportunity to serve different communities, you know, over the last 25 years. And I'm so grateful to be here in the city of Los Altos. And so I just really hope that we can all continue to collaborate and work on issues together. I'm always open to input. I like to consider other people's points of view. And so, you know, that's what I'm here for as the chief. I'm here to listen to you. I'm here to serve you. And anything that I can do as the police chief to improve the quality of life for the people that live, work, and travel through Los Altos, then that is really important to me. So thank you again for hosting me today. And in December, it's really an honor. And I just look forward to meeting all of you in 3D, hopefully in the very near future. And, you know, I just look forward to what the future holds for all of us. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Before we leave, Nicole, any other announcements for the group?
I just wanted to say thank you so much. You really are an inspiring leader, and Los Altos is so lucky to have you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, I don't know Nicole, but make sure you check the website for future announcements, things coming up. And Chief, as always, thank you again for being with us. Priscilla, you took yourself off of mute. Anything you want to say?
Yes, just thank you so much, Angela. I really appreciate all of your knowledge and your hard work. Really appreciate it. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, I think we all agree with that sentiment. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day. And if I don't see you again, happy Halloween. And Yom Kippur today. Bye.